How's it going? William Conville. Check out my channel. Taste the truth. It is Monday, the 11th of October 2021. Today I want to talk about the COVID passports. They're here. Whether you know it or not, or choose to accept it or not, they're here. The government has cardly not announced it to try and keep their voter base happy and beta test businesses doing their dirty work for them, to see what the reaction is going to be like for what they would obviously clearly like to just mandate. And I'm going to show you. They're already here. Like my last video, I'll have a hero and I'll have a zero. I'll have two heroes this week. Could have had more, but we're going to go with two quick ones. First one being, as you know, they lifted the restrictions in certain places. Social distancing mainly was the real thing, and that they didn't mandate COVID passports, but they were asking businesses to do their dirty work for them if they felt they would. Some have fell in line. Now I'm only going to highlight one of each. If you know of any more, please let me know. First one is the movie house, which I'm really happy to see, because movies is one of the best forms of escapism. It's a top hobby of mine, my family's, and something that we all like to go and escape for an hour and a half, 2 hours, watch a film and forget about the world and get engrossed in something that captures your imagination and your fantasy. The movie house was one of the ones that they lifted the restrictions on, i.e. social distancing was the main thing. But they were asked by Stormount and the clown show to take it upon themselves to ask for COVID status passports. Fortunately enough, and thankfully enough, and a round of applause to them, they have decided not to. But at this time, as I'll point out, social distancing in screens has now ended. Yes, about time. COVID status checks are not required. Happy days at this time. So they've left the door ajar for it maybe be coming in now. Anybody that follows movies and goes regularly and has done over the years knows the movie industry is on its knees. Cinemas are on its knees. A lot of that's to do around pricing. Movies are not that good. They only bring certain movies out, i.e. the Space Girl effect. I'll talk about that in one of my other videos, but they cover all bases. One for the family, one comedy, one action, one horror, rom-com, that type of thing. So the Space Girl effect, ginger one, the blonde one, the black one, the white one, the funny one, the scary one, so on and so forth. So the movie industry, it's on its knees, it's crumbling, it is struggling. So this would have been business suicide if they're not already going to go out of business, which I think they will. It's inevitable. More and more people are streaming, want it at their fingertips, will just pay for it in their house. And you'll miss that experience. If they do bring any sort of mandate in, I'll be boycotting them, I'll not go. I have no problem doing that. I wouldn't want to, but I would have no problem. So, round of applause for them, and respect them, because, as I say, there is pressure being put on them to take it upon themselves to ask for COVID status, COVID passport. So well done in the movie house. I'm looking forward to getting down over the next couple of weeks and watching the new Halloween movie. Zero of the week in regards to this, and as I say, the COVID passport you hear, is the Grand Opera House, the elitist. I'm not really surprised, because this is something that a higher tier of people usually attend. They would attend, I'm sure, the movie house, but this is a more common person's retreat and escapism is the movies. I say, even it's getting expensive, it's very close to the price of a ticket to go to the theatre, but it's two opposites of the spectrum for me. So this doesn't really come as a surprise, the Grand Opera House. It does a bit because I say it's business suicide, but in order to make the middle class, shall we say, which is the majority, nobody can argue to go to the theatre, feel comfortable, they are requiring COVID passports. They've tried to gloss it up and hedge their bets and say that they've got 3 different levels for you to gain entry, which is true, but I'm going to point out it's discriminatory. Completely and utterly discriminatory. You can't gloss it up. So the elitists at the Grand Opera House have asked for proof of double vaccination, proof of a negative lateral flow test, or proof of natural immunity. You may think that's great, but it's discrimination. Why is it discrimination? Because it's not a disputed argument anymore, which was for a long time. It was called a conspiracy theory, but it's been debunked. If you're vaccinated or if you're not vaccinated, yawn, you can carry the virus, catch the virus, and transmit the virus. Vaccinated or unvaccinated, there is no difference. None. So if you're asking for testing, it should be right across the board. It's the only way, and I would even have a problem with that, but I would accept it. If everybody that wants to attend any of these venues has to do a test, then that's not discrimination. That's everybody doing the exact same thing. At the minute, people that have got vaccinated are being rewarded, even though they can catch it, carry it, and spread it, just like an unvaccinated person. So it's discrimination. I would also wonder and ask the question, do all their staff members either have to be fully vaccinated, show proof of a negative lateral flow test, which would mean a couple of times a week, or show proof of natural immunity? That could be discrimination, because if it's just proof, and it's hypothetical, I'm asking the question, if you to work there you have to get proof of vaccination, then that's discrimination, because that means an unvaccinated person can't go for the job and will be discriminated against going for the job. If they're not all being tested, again, the exact same thing. If you're not willing to do that, then you'd be getting discriminated against going for the job. The same for the actors and actresses, helpers, lighting engineers, stuff like that. Do they all have to be vaccinated? Because again, if you're not vaccinated, and that may be the case, then you're being discriminated against. That's a valid question. Is that their requirements? Because if it's the requirements for people coming to watch a show, is it the requirements for people to work in the show? So it will be discrimination, undeniable, that everybody should be getting tested. If everybody's not getting tested, even though everybody attending catch it, pass it on, and carry it, it would be the same for staff and actors and actresses and so on and so forth. You can't deny that that's discrimination. And as I say, they're doing the cowardly government's dirty work for them. And again, this is to make people that got vaccinated feel safe. And let me explain. If they don't feel safe by now, nothing's going to make them feel safe, because when you got the vaccine, you were actually told to start, you couldn't catch it, you couldn't carry it, and you wouldn't have to wear a mask no more. Now all you've got to hold on to is that you'll not get as sick. So that's all you've got to hold on to. So even though you can catch it, carry it, and pass it on, you're being rewarded for being vaccinated against somebody that's not vaccinated. So it's discrimination. And a reward. The fact that people are having to do a proof of a negative flow test, people know that people are not doing these tests. And if you've been paying attention to Wales today, it's been the only time I've heard it saying, I did address this in this video, cancer treatments are testing for private companies, where it was a beta test around the lateral flow test, because they know people will not be doing that test. Some people will, but a lot of people will just be texting in, dipping it in the fish bowl, spitting on it, under their armpit, anything, and just saying it's negative. And people that are vaccinated know this. People that are vaccinated know people, not just in this country, but anywhere. If we can cut corners, we'll cut corners. But to give them the mental comfort, they tell themselves the people are getting tested lateral flow. So everybody sitting next to them or around them is either vaccinated or will have a lateral flow test. When they know that everybody will not be doing it. Go back to Wales. Wales have now said that they're going to be fining people if you get caught falsifying a negative lateral flow test. How they're going to do that, I do not know. They want this out. They do. They want that out. Because if you're not getting the chance to have a negative flow test, you've been paying attention, they want to make it as uncomfortable as possible for you. They want you to miss out as much as possible, so you just get fed up and go and get the vaccine. So they want that taken out, but it's to give elites that comfort, because they would bank on most people that they would say go to these shows would have a higher IQ and would probably get vaccinated, rather than against people that use facilities like this, businesses and establishments like that. They're discriminating and they should be boycotted. If you had any morals and principles about you, you'd be boycotting and standing up, because if this doesn't stop here, it's going to go the whole way around the country. It doesn't matter whether it's a restaurant, it's a theatre, it's a cinema. This will go in till every quarter of the country, every business. You're kidding yourself. If people that are vaccinated still don't feel safe, and in order for them to feel safe, you have to prove a lateral flow test, even though they're vaccinated. What's to stop that going until a fruit shop or a coffee shop or a plumber coming into your house or an electrician coming into your house? They demand proof of vaccination in order to make them feel safe, even when it's not already mandatory. It's not even mandatory, but they're taking the opportunity to mandate it and to try and gloss it up by saying that there's the 3 levels. But as I say, if they're not testing everybody, when everybody can catch it, carry it and pass it on, then it's discrimination. And again, not just for paying customers, but is that what's happening with the staff? Because if I'm an actor and I'm not vaccinated and I can't get the role, then that's discrimination. There's no other word for it. So, boycott. Shouldn't be no other answer. You've on a year and a half without going to any of these things. The furlough scheme's just ended, so these people need feet through the door. They need people buying their sausage rolls, their beers, their tickets. If they're not getting the footfall, then they will not follow through with these mandates. They will be forced to welcome anybody until their establishments. You shouldn't have to prove that you're not sick when you're not sick. Anybody that is sick in any form of fashion nowadays will hibernate themselves and get tested. You shouldn't have to go through this process just because it's a requirement to get in when you know you're not sick. It's madness. It's ludicrous, and we need to push back against it, because it's discrimination. And as I say, the more you push back against it, the more you boycott these things, they will be forced to change. And as businesses, you have a bit more pride in your customer base that has kept you afloat all these years, and especially through the pandemic when we were ordering food from you, or anything else, any of your other goods and services. You shouldn't now turn your backs on us. It's business suicide. So it is. Because you don't know how many people in each person's family has decided to get vaccinated, or would have natural immunity for a certain amount of time, or cheating on the tests, or don't want to follow these restrictions. So it's business suicide. So boycott them. Yeah, boycott them elites. Push back on it now while you still have a chance, because if you don't, it's coming till everybody's door. And 2 bits of quick news regarding the vaccine. In Slovenia, they have halted the Johnson & Johnson because of adverse effects. This is the International Business Times. It's in many other news outlets from today's date, October 11th. Woman dies of brain hemorrhage just days after receiving the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. A 20-year-old woman in Slovenia died of a brain hemorrhage just days after receiving the single-dose Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine, leading the government to temporarily suspend the vaccine's distribution. The patient had blood clots and bleeding in the brain at the same time. Intensive care was not successful. Igor Rigler, a neurologist at the Lubijani Hospital Centre, STA, National News Agency. You can go and do your own research on it, but that's a Johnson & Johnson in Slovenia. It's not on the mainstream media. Go and do a bit of research. The reason I want to bring this story to you is because it's the Moderna, which just has been rolled out in this country over the last week and will be getting rolled out further with the younger people as the weeks go along. But Finland halts Moderna vaccine for under 30s. This is also being extended to Sweden and Norway. Finland has paused the use of Moderna COVID-19 vaccine for men under the age of 30, one day after Sweden and Denmark implemented similar measures. Health authorities in Helsinki said the decision was taken following reports of a rare cardiovascular side effect. Now they're saying it's rare, we'll go with that, but that's a big step for a rare side effect for a whole country to stop handing out the Moderna vaccine for under 30s. On Wednesday, Sweden said it would stop offering the jab to under 30s. Denmark later followed suit with a similar ban on Moderna for all under 18s. A Nordic study involving Finland, Sweden, Norway and Denmark so far found that men under the age of 30 who received Moderna Spikevax had a slightly higher risk than others of developing myocarditis, which is inflammation of the heart and can lead to heart attacks. Mika Salminen from Finland's Health Institute said, again, go and do your own research. As I say, they're just about to roll, or they have started rolling the Moderna vaccine out and boosters on for young people. So there's 4 Nordic countries have put it on hold for men under the age of 30 because there is rare cardiovascular myocarditis in the men. So again, go and do a wee bit of your research. And before you think about getting the vaccine, again, it's freedom of choice. I'm not discouraging you or promoting it. I just think you need to do a bit of research and get informed, because them type of stories are not being afforded till common knowledge or conversations are not happening on their mainstream media or on the ground in workplaces. My hero of the week, it was out just over a week ago, nearly 2 weeks ago now, but this is Jonathan Isaac, an NBA basketball player who has decided and has been forced to come out and say that he didn't get vaccinated because there's so much pressure in America about vaccination. The mandates are in so many states and are not just in front line. They're not just in front line careers. If you think that this is not coming to your business or your workforce, or you're a worker out there that thinks this isn't coming to you, you're in denial. It makes no common sense, because as I said before with the Opera House, if people need to feel safe with one business, they will want to feel safe being in close contact. You will, like you're a plumber, a grocer, a fishmonger, a tailor or a barman. They will want to feel safe knowing that you're vaccinated or you've had a lateral flow test. But if they take them lateral flow tests away, they will only feel safe if you're vaccinated. So this young man has said it better than anybody I've ever heard saying it, for giving his reasons why he's unvaccinated. He is one of the most intelligent young men that I've heard speaking. It's the most intelligent speech that I've heard anybody talk around, and he's under immense pressure from his team, his sport, his country, and the media. Before I play the video, this young man, because he's decided to get unvaccinated, can't train with his team, can't travel with his team, can't stay with his teammates, but can go on the court and play sport, basketball, but only in certain states. Because certain states have mandated, he can't play in them states. And if he doesn't play in them states, he doesn't get paid for playing them states. But for his morals, he's took a stand for what he believes in, which he's going to outline now. But I find that abhorrent that your teammates wouldn't stand up for you when you're being segregated, when you're being discriminated against, that you can't train, travel, or stay with your team. You know, imagine this was a conversation around nationality or colour or wealth and status. It would be discrimination right away. It would be called out for just exactly what it is. But because he's unvaccinated, it's not being called out as discrimination, because you're being asked for COVID passports. You don't think it's discrimination? Waking up. And it is what it is. There's no other word for it in all forms of discrimination. Here's Jonathan Isaac explaining to the reporters and the world why he chose not to get vaccinated.
Follow-ups on that. Mike Bianchi, Orlando Sentinel. I'm sure you've probably been vaccinated for some other stuff.
Hesitant to get it.
I would start with I've had COVID in the past, and so our understanding of antibodies, of natural immunity has changed a great deal from the onset of the pandemic, and is still evolving.
It's better.
I understand that the vaccine would help if you catch COVID, and you'll be able to have less symptoms from contracting it. But with me having COVID in the past and having antibodies, with my current age group and physical fitness level, it's not necessarily a fear of mine. Taking the vaccine, like I said, it would decrease my chances of having a severe reaction, but it does open me up to the, albeit rare chance, but the possibility of having an adverse reaction to the vaccine itself. I don't believe that being unvaccinated means infected, or being vaccinated means uninfected. You can still catch COVID with or without not having the vaccine. I would say, honestly, the craziness of it all, in terms of not being able to say that it should be everybody's fair choice without being demeaned or talked crazy to, doesn't make one comfortable to do what said person is telling them to do. I would say that's a couple of the reasons that, I would say I'm hesitant at this time, but at the end of the day, I don't feel that it is, anyone's reason to come out and say, well, this is why or this is not why. It should just be their decision, and, loving your neighbors, not just loving those that agree with you or look like you or move in the same way that you do. It's loving those who don't.
Amen. Amen. What a mature, intelligent young man. And as I said, the pressure he's under, the scrutiny he's under, to speak like that from the heart, controlled, it's fantastic. And I think he said what a lot of people like to say, but couldn't put it in them terms. He hit every point about his natural immunity, having COVID, which has been proven to be far more effective. He's 23% more effective natural immunity. He's fit, he's healthy. He doesn't want to risk that by getting, as he said, albeit a rare side effect from taking the vaccine, as I've just pointed out, in Finland, Sweden, Norway, and I can't remember the other country. But to speak the way he spoke under that amount of pressure, I have nothing but admiration for that young man. I salute him. He has my support in anything going forward, and I wish there was more people like that who weren't afraid to be outcasted. Because, as I say, he can't train with his team, he can't travel with his team, he can't stay with his team, but he can then go out onto the court and play with them. That's just the height of contradiction, if you've ever heard it in this whole process. So he's my hero of the week. Big up Jonathan Isaac. Respect. I hope there's more people like him. I really do. I know there is, and I'll do a couple of videos over the next couple of days of people like this. But Jonathan Isaac, hero of the week, hero of the year, because I don't think I've seen anybody put it in layman's terms like that. So professional, calm, mature, an intelligent young man. Fantastic. Yep. Get on to the channel, Test the Truth. Like, subscribe, share. Look after each other, and do not stand for this man. Stick up for your brother, your sister, your friend, your teammate, your work colleague, because this is going to affect us all.